You know, today's modern world is pretty much bipolar. Yay or nay, black or white. I mean, we are just radically different. And us woodworkers, we're no different. You got basically two camps of woodworkers. Those that take the wood to the tool, power tool users, and those that take the tool to the wood, hand tool users. And us hand tool users, we have one additional problem that power tool users don't really deal with that often. Somehow we've got to secure the wood so we can work on it safely. And one of the least expensive ways of doing that never seems to be discussed. So today, we're going to talk about wedges. A wedge is one of the easiest, fastest, and most economical ways of securing your work that we know of. And it was probably the very first clamp ever made. I mean, basically, all you need to do is take any rectangular board, split it on diagonals, and you have two wedges. And as long as you can move one direction, the other direction, they will expand and contract to squeeze whatever you want. Now, there are some things that we've learned about wedges over the centuries. You can have a wedge with a really high angle, like that, and it's not going to hold because it requires so much force to move the opposite sized wedge into it and move it up that you just can't get that much force easily at the workbench. So it's going to loosen up because you can't get it tight enough to begin with. The opposite is true too. If you have a wedge that is way lean, well, you'll end up pushing the wedges so much, they'll have so much force that you're just going to crush the wood and it's not going to work. So obviously the optimal setting is going to be somewhere in between those extremes. And I don't know where I first heard this, but there's been a lot of tests out there, and the optimal for our situations, like working on a workbench with wood, using those as the wedges, seems to be in the 4% range. And the easiest way I know to do that one is to use a 1 in 12 slope. So if you take a ruler, cut a board to the length of your ruler, and then just go up 1 inch up, that'll give you your 1 in 10 slope. 1 in 12 slope. And that is in the mid 4-degree range. But personally, that's kind of a long wedge. You can do variation of that. 6 inches over, a ½ inch. 4 inches, a 1/3 of an inch, or 3/8 will get you close enough. But at that angle, the friction between the woods right there will grip them enough. You'll have a lot of pressure develop because of the angles, but not so much you're just going to crush the wood and it'll loosen up over time. And the thing is, this isn't just used in antiquated hand tools. You can use this on the most modern of tools. What brought this idea to my mind was I'm about to do a small production run of saw handles to replace those Yankee saws on Stanley Sharp Tooth, something with something a little bit more useful. And I need something where I can just plop things down, anchor it up, and using clamps and all that kind of twisting mechanism, mechanical stuff, well, that just takes too much time. With a wedge, all I have to do is secure one side and use two 4-degree wedges on the other side. And this thing ain't moving anywhere. And all it cost me was about $2.50 worth of MDF, which you can use pine, oak, whatever scraps you have available to do the same thing on a workbench. All you need to do is be able to secure one end and wedge the other. So for today's bonus, I'd like to talk about Mike Dunbar. But before we do that one, if you like this video, if you learned anything from this or any of the other ones in this series or my long form videos, do me a big favor. Like, favorite, subscribe, do all those social medias. And most importantly, tell a friend. That's probably the best way there is for us to grow this channel. It's just word of mouth advertising. And if you want to sponsor us a little bit more, consider visiting wortheffort.com, where I have some shop-made tools, some swag, t-shirts and stuff like that. I'm not wearing one right now. Hats, that kind of stuff. All those sales help subsidize me making these videos for you. Now, Mike Dunbar, he is one of our modern-day woodworking treasures. He is known as a fantastic chair maker, and not only does he know a lot of the skills involved, but he knows a lot of the history involved and why they did it certain ways. And I could not believe this, but I was at Half Price Bookstore, which is a chain we have in this area, and I'm not sure if it's nationwide, but it's a used bookstore, and they're all kind of similar. And sometimes they will buy big lots of brand new books that haven't sold somewhere else. And I found Mike Dunbar's Make a Windsor Chair. I can't believe this was there, and it was only $6. So if you have one of these books area, go grab it. This is one of the best resources in chair making, like Welsh chairs. You know, he's talking about Windsor chairs, but it's all these Morrison Tenon style chair making techniques that he explains so well. And just blasting through this thing, what impressed me the most was how well he explains the geometry. Because these kinds of chairs, that's the hardest part for me, getting all those angles right. Because every single slat in the back of one cannot be the same. Otherwise, it would be really flimsy. And these things are incredibly strong and incredibly light due to the geometry. He does a great job of explaining it. So if you get a chance, pick up his book, Make a Windsor Chair by Mike Dunbar. You will really enjoy it, and you'll learn a lot on top.